So Marvel Token Fighting Souls is one of the most highly anticipated fighting games of 2026. It's supposed to be appearing on the PS5 and Microsoft Windows on a date that has yet to be revealed. And a lot of people are excited about this game because of pretty much the aesthetics, how the game looks, and the fact that it's probably the first fighting game to have four versus four fighting gameplay. Because just about every other game that we've gotten before that has either been tag team, 2-on-2, or 3-on-3. And the interesting thing about Marvel Token is the fact that this is a game that is going to be developed by Arc System Works. And for those who don't know, Arc System Works worked on games like Dragon Ball Fighters from 2018 and Guilty Gear Strive from 2021. Both really good games. A lot of people go on record and tell you that Dragon Ball Fighters is overrated. And then people go on record and tell you that Guilty Gear Strive from 2021 is underrated. Everybody has their own respective opinions on those two things, but I feel I feel like this is actually a big deal because it's one of the first big Marvel crossover fighting games that we're going to see since Marvel's Capcom Infinite 2017. And it makes me think that, you know what, we're probably not going to see another Marvel versus Capcom game anytime in the near future because I feel like if we were to get another Marvel versus Capcom game, it would be licensed by Capcom, and we probably would have gotten that opposed to Marvel Token Fighting Souls. Now, for those who don't know, this upcoming Marvel game is going to be published by Sony Interactive Entertainment. So it's going to be licensed by Sony. It's going to be utilizing the Unreal Engine 5. And and for the most part, a lot of people were curious on whether or not this game was going to appear on any other game systems outside of the PS5 and PC. And the thing is, I don't think it was ever mentioned once in the trailer that it was going to be ported for the Xbox Series X or even the Switch 2. The Switch 2 is understandable considering the fact that it just came out this year. Like the system just launched, like, I want to say, like almost 2 months ago. And you look at the Xbox Series X, obviously it's not selling more than the PlayStation 5. And I feel like the Xbox Series X is more for shooter games and battle royale type of video games. Um, I feel like the Xbox consoles in general just favor different genres. That's not fighting related. I feel like fighting genre games stand out more on the PlayStation 5 or even Nintendo for that matter. And with that being said, I don't think this game is going to be released for the Xbox Series X, at least not anytime in the near future. And we're supposed to be getting a new Xbox console in 2027, so it's quite possible that that we might get like a series of new Xbox games in 2027. But seeing that Marvel Token Fighting Souls is pretty much licensed by Sony, I don't see this game appearing on the Xbox Series X or the next generation Xbox console at all. But in terms of sales, it's a little too early to determine what the sales are going to be like because we still don't have the entire roster available just yet. We know a couple of characters are going to be in this game, like Captain America, Spider Man, Miss Marvel, Doctor Doom, Iron Man, Storm, Ghost Rider, Star Lord. Characters like that are going to be in it, and and I'm not exactly sure whether or not the game is going to have a campaign or a story mode similar to how Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite did. And and that being said, I mean, I don't think this is really like one of those games that necessarily need that because if it's just like arcade based fighting, then I honestly feel like it'll be a fun enough if there's enough game modes to keep players hooked, and if the online multiplayer gameplay is something that stands the test of time. But when it comes down to online gameplay, I just learned something the other day on comicbook.com. It turns out that some regions don't support the PlayStation Network, which means some players will not be able to play Marvel Token Fighting Souls online, which is kind of a bummer. And then you look at that coupled with the fact that the price of, gaming and goods and all that stuff from foreign countries, is causing the cost of gaming to go upwards. It makes me wonder what the actual price for Marvel tokens going to be when it comes out in 2026. And I honestly feel like at this point, people are going to be buying games just to scalp them or resell them or what have you. And and I do feel like the cost of gaming going up is something that's going to have a detrimental effect on the sales of this upcoming, Marvel game. But I do feel like it has the potential to be better than Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite because I felt like Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite was a downgrade compared to what we got from Marvel vs. Capcom 3 from 2011 because it just felt very basic. The aesthetics were not good and the story was just I don't know. I mean, it kind of it felt like a mess, just like a bunch of characters from different universe thrown together. And they try to, I don't know, do something creative, and I don't know. I applaud the effort to make a story that kind of makes sense and everything, but I don't know. I just feel like Marvel versus Capcom was not really one of those franchises that it didn't really need to have like a story in order to be appealing. You just had to have the right roster, the right characters, and just addictive gameplay and all that stuff to make it an attraction. I feel like with Marvel Token, you can definitely form a story that makes sense, and I think it'd be easier to have like main characters, main villains, and all that stuff because it's all within the Marvel universe, whether it's canon or non-canon. But but yeah, I feel like Marvel games in general have been doing good on PlayStation consoles within the past couple of years or so. And a lot of people would agree with me because you look at the Marvel Spider Man 2 game, I think it's one of the best selling video games in the PS5. You look at the Spider Man game from 2018, I think it's either number one or number two in terms of being the best selling PS4 game of all time. So obviously, Marvel stands out more on PlayStation consoles in general than any other game system. And I think we're supposed to be getting a Wolverine and a Blade game sometime in the future for the PlayStation 5. So I don't I don't see like, Marvel games necessarily like cropping up on Xbox or standing up on Xbox or anything like that because it seems like there's some type of working agreement between Sony and Marvel. And because of that, Marvel games for the most part have mainly been restricted to, PlayStation consoles and stuff like that. And rightfully so because Nintendo is basically on its own island. It has like Mario and Zelda and Donkey Kong and all those other characters that are the top sellers in relation to video games for Nintendo, and it's almost impossible for a third party game to top any of Nintendo's first party IPs and all that. And like I said earlier, with Xbox consoles, it seems like shooter games, whether it be first person or third person, they always stand out. Or if they're just RPGs that's like rated M or what have you, like they stand out more than anything. So I feel like each console has their set of genres that like stand out, and they have specific IPs that stand out more so than others. And with that being said, I mean, it definitely makes sense. I mean, considering the fact that Microsoft, they made that acquisition a couple of years ago. They bought a bunch of IPs that they plan on utilizing. So I can't really see like Marvel necessarily standing out on the Xbox Series X or anything like that because there's just a lot of other stuff that people are going to be focusing on. I mean, people are looking forward to like the next Halo game, which is expected to appear sometime in 2027. I think there's been talk of the Guitar Hero series possibly being, revived by Activision Blizzard. Um Yeah, there's a lot of IPs that, Microsoft owns. There's a lot of stuff that Xbox can work with, and I honestly feel like there's no need to have Marvel Token on the Xbox Series X. But then again, it seemed like Microsoft has been forming. They've been forming all kinds of like relationships and deals with different gaming entities, especially after winning the FTC case a couple of years back. Um, they signed a 10-year deal with Nintendo to bring more Call of Duty games to future Nintendo consoles, and I think that the same thing applies with like PlayStation as well. So yeah, with that being said, I don't think Microsoft is necessarily at competition with Nintendo or Sony anymore, but apparently they're going to continue making, game systems and putting out games and stuff like that, which is actually pretty cool, but I don't know. I have no idea um where this is going to go. I don't know whether or not relationships between Nintendo and PlayStation and Microsoft is going to become more amicable as time goes by. But as far as Marvel Token is concerned, I do feel like it's definitely one of those games that people are going to be looking forward to in relation to 2026.